everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started on our Planning Commission meeting for February 26, 2024. We're going to go ahead and get roll call.
Here. Here.
Here.
And Engelcase here. All right, so if everyone will stand, we'll do our Pledge of Allegiance. I hope everyone's had a chance up here to look at the previous minutes. If you'll have to take a minute to look at them. Otherwise, do we have a motion to accept?
One correction. What did I say? Mr. Edgar is not on there. Bill Edgar. He might have been absent. I don't see any mention of him.
Yeah, Mr. Egner's name's missing.
All right. Other than that one correction to add Egner to the present, is there any other changes or discussion? Do we have a motion?
Chairman, I motion to accept.
All right. We have a motion to accept with change. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Motion passes, or the minutes are approved. I think we rephrase. Okay. Anyway, we have no old business, so we'll move on to new business. Case number 2024-003 is a request for site plan review for a building addition to the existing structure at 4150 Goodman Road West. And I'm going to turn this over to staff and first say congratulations to Mr. Andrew. He's officially our director, so very congratulations. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you.
You're getting the big bucks now, ain't it?
I appreciate it. Thank you. So 2024-003, as was stated before, this is a building addition to the existing Walmart structure at 4150 Goodman Road West on land consisting of approximately 29.02 acres. And this is under C4 zoning and being developed by Duplantis Design Group on land owned by Walmart. So this first picture here, this is more of a zoomed in picture of the property itself. The red lines are the property boundaries. And then the next slide is zoomed out, and this is just an aerial view of the surroundings around the Walmart property. Next slide, please. And then we have that same scale of aerial view with the zoning of all these pieces of land, showing Walmart's right in the middle of that C4. And then jumping into the requirements, I know we've kind of skipped over this before, but we felt that for this particular day with two different site plans being presented today, we would just equally go through the requirements to both developers. And so we just wanted to highlight that the reason this is being presented to the Planning Commission is because every time any developer, any owner does any exterior alterations to any existing building, that automatically triggers a building permit, which then means for your building permit, if you do any exterior additions to any existing building, you then have to submit a site plan. And the site plan has to be presented to the Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission is who gives the final decision on whether or not a site plan is valid. Next slide, please. So just to go through this real quick, requirements for building permits. A site plan shall include building size, number of stories, total square feet, square footage of each level, building height, location on the lot, existence of fences, the general design, materials used in construction, the grade lines, elevation, access and circulation and parking areas, description of the roof, roof pitch, roof line, size and design of yards, courts, and other open spaces, type and location of doors, windows, and then colors and facade. Next slide. And continuing on, ornamental features, building projections, garbage collection areas, landscaping plans need to be included as well, which should include existing trees, new trees, required buffer yards, exterior lighting, and also a description of all the signs on the property. Next slide, please. And this here is just a description of what is called the Design Review Commission. The Design Review Commission is who reviews all site plans, and it specifies in the ordinance that the Planning Commission also doubles as the Design Review Commission. And so right now, the Planning Commission, all of you are automatically acting as Design Review Commissioners. Next slide, please. And that just describes what I just said right there. Next slide. So that's just a brief overview of why we're looking at this. Going into the actual site plan, here is what Walmart has submitted to us. They are proposing to expand on the northeast portion of the existing building for drive-up shopping operations. If you can see, there's that little black box up in the upper right-hand corner attached to the building. That there is the 6,000 additional square feet they're going to add onto the building. And right now, that's just a grassy area, but they're going to build this addition on that grassy area, taking away some pervious surfaces, which, you know, it's just a grass area that absorbs water. That will disappear. And they're going to take away one little strip of parking in front of that grass. Next slide, please. And then this is a close-up detail of that addition. So the landscape islands and landscaping will not be changed. The length and width of the parking spaces will not be changed. What they're going to do is add crosswalks from the concrete area attached to the addition across all of the parking aisles, and this will be for the employees bringing out the merchandise, and they'll have a safe walking path to all the parking aisles. Next slide, please. So if there was any questions about removing the parking, they did plenty of studies on the parking. They provided the parking data for us. What's currently there right now has 760 total parking spaces. They're going to reduce that down to 723 parking spaces. So in total, they're going to remove 37 parking spaces. And then basically, because this is going to be a storage area for the drive-up parking merchandise, they're not going to expand the customer walking area. They just need some more place to store this extra merchandise before walking it out. Next slide, please. And based on their calculations, this is not going to negatively affect anything on Walmart's business sales. We did have a memo emailed to us from the engineers that this will not affect Walmart's business, and so we have everything you need if anyone has any questions about the parking situation. And then next slide, please. So this is going into the proposed building elevations. So pretty much most of this is going to remain the same on that third level. It's actually labeled number 2, the right elevation. You see that light gray area. That's what's going to be added onto the building. Next slide, please. And this is a close-up of looking directly at this walk-up area expansion. Next slide, please. That's the south elevation. Next slide, please. And that's the north elevation. Next slide, please. And then this is just a rendering of the gas canopy elevations, and they provided the roof, overall canopy plan, and the signage on the canopies. Next slide, please. So just to summarize what we have found, all the elevations for the expansion will be of materials that match the rest of the building, color and material. The expansion of the building will consist of earth tone concrete block, which is permitted under the city's design guidelines of building material. The expansion is not considered part of the facade since it's on that back side, so glass will not be needed to be added onto the elevation facing the north of the building addition. The existing building elevations and gas canopy elevations are in compliance with the design guidelines. Next slide, please. So one of the big things we look at is to make sure that any building additions will not increase the risk of flooding due to taking up square footage of every lot. And so according to the zoning chart, the zoning district regulation chart states that the maximum impervious surface on lots for a C3 zone or C4 zones, actually all commercial zones in the city, is 85%. And the building addition would bring it up to 48% of the total property being impervious, which is far below this 85% maximum limit. So everything is totally fine on this. In addition to that, proper drainage plans were submitted, and the water saturation was adequately accounted for. Next slide, please. And so here's a bit of a close-up of this drainage plan. They have the elevations, the elevation numbers of the parking lot circled there, where the stormwater drains are going to be, and everything looked good with them. Next slide, please. So in accordance to what's required with the site plan, here is a sign schedule. Everything differently they're going to be doing with their signs is on here. Next slide, please. And these are just the different parts of the store that are going to be labeled on the outside. Next slide, please. And the overall logos. And all the signs are found to be in conforming with the current code requirements. Next slide, please. So, in conclusion, all the aspects of this building expansion were thoroughly depicted in the 128 pages of drawings submitted to the planning department. All the necessary plans were submitted, and everything we asked them to revise, they revised it right away. and nothing was found which would cause any concern to the general welfare of the community, and every effort seems to have been made to conform to all city design regulations. Next slide, please. This is the possible motion. So that was my presentation, and if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Andrew. Does anybody have any questions for Andrew?
Andrew, it appears they've met everything you've asked them to do, and everything is in conforming to the ordinances and codes.
Yes, sir. They've been very quick to respond, revised many drawings, had plenty of discussions with us on what our ordinance requires and how they should do their drawings. So
They appear they did a thorough job here.
everything was followed.
Is the
Very well
applicant
here.
here? You'd like to come up and state your name and address?
Yeah, my name is Gary LaBeouf with DDG, with the civil engineer, address 314 East Bayou Road in Thibodaux, Louisiana.
All right, and Commissioner had a question for Andrew real quick. Go ahead.
Hey, Andrew, I didn't see, with the square foot of the building, was there a required number of parking spaces?
Yeah, so there is it's a ratio of, I think it's 200, it's one parking space for every 200 square feet. However, this is why they had to do the parking study, to get away from any issues with not having enough parking. And so, based on the technical reading of the ordinance, they would be under the parking requirement. And so whenever that happens, we request for the developer to conduct a study to show how that would affect business, and if the developer and the company is okay with that, and then propose to us why that they should be allowed to take away parking spaces. And so that's why they submitted that.
So they're under?
Yes, sir. They are slightly under the parking requirement.
Would you like to go ahead and make a statement?
Yeah, sure. So we did a study of the store itself, observed parking, and ran calculations based on the existing square footage and proposed. And we found that in the proposed condition, at peak times, your parking lot was at 69% parked, so you have almost 30% open space, parking spaces. So, Walmart doesn't require, is it 5 per thousand? Is that what was the city code?
One space per 200.
Yeah, so
square feet.
that's a 5-0 parking ratio, which Walmart doesn't require that. Their guidelines don't require that kind of parking to operate the store. So, we found that, they can actually get by with far less, probably a 3.5 parking spaces per 1,000 across the nation, right? A general, some cities need more or less, but in this particular case, we did the study based on the proposed expansion, and, the parking lot as presented would be 70% full at peak time, so adequate parking for the development.
I do.
Okay.
Sorry, that was loud. Thank you for all of this. This is very thorough. I really appreciate
Okay.
this. Going back to the parking, I'm a mom with 3 kids. And so all of these spaces will be utilized for pickup, correct?
The new parking space on the right-hand of the store, there will be for pickup spaces on the right-hand side. Now, the rest of the lot remains for customers.
I think
The front.
it's huge, because
Yeah.
part of our problem, my personal problem when we go and we want to utilize the service is the parking, and you have to wait so
Right,
long.
right.
And so I feel like an expansion of that will actually maybe even help business.
Correct.
Even though it's taking away the parking spots of people going inside.
Right.
I think it's actually gonna be more utilized, because people will see that, hey,
Right.
they recognize the need.
Correct.
So kudos, thank you so much.
Actually, what happens too is more people go to the pickup, so it actually frees up more of the parking lot. So the pickup services, I think you're gonna see this expanded again next year. I mean, it's across the country, it's I mean, a 5,000 square foot expansion means they're doing good business on the pickup services. So it's new to Walmart as well, and they're constantly upgrading that as the customer needs it. So, yeah, I agree. It's going to be plenty of parking now, and there's room to expand it if they need to. So,
Well, thank you very much. Has anybody else got any other questions for the applicant?
Not for the applicant, I have one for Andrew.
All right, go ahead, Andrew.
If we make the motion for this, we need to make an exception regarding the parking slots.
Yes, I would simply make a motion to approve it as presented, and say that accept the study by the
Accept their study.
yeah, I would just approve it as presented. I think that would be simpler because it's going to be in the notes and in the presentation and in our documents to have the voluntary acceptance of the reduction in parking.
All right, do we have any other questions? If not, do we have a motion?
Chairman, I have a motion. After review of case number 2024-003, site plan review for building addition to the existing structure at 4150 Goodman Road West on land consisting of 29.02 acres under C4 zoning being developed by the Planners Design Group owned by Walmart. The Planning Commission approves the presented site plan as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 All right, motion passes.
thank you much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for your help, man. I appreciate it. You have a good one here.
All right, on to case number 2024-004. I don't see anybody else here, so I take it the applicant is not here. The applicant for 2024-004. Well, okay, so do we have a motion on that one? Usually we table it.
Motion to table case number 2024-04.
Second.
Our next
Now,
meeting.
we have a motion and a second to table to the next meeting. Any discussion?
Hey, Andrew, if we table this, will it stand as is? Or if we table it, can we add in that they need to have their required information that they did not have at this time?
So what's going on with this case? The developers requested that this come to the Planning Commission, even though we advised them against it. The Planning Department is going to reach out to the developers every day to make sure they get us the required documents. We're calling them, we're emailing them, we're trying to get these drawings from them, and so we'll definitely work on getting more information. This is a bit unusual to have this little information, so we will definitely be putting together a much fuller packet for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? Or did we already, I don't think we have.
second.
Oh, yeah, second, okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, motion is tabled until next meeting. All right, on to case number, the next case, 2024-005. It's a proposed text amendment initiated by the Planning Commission to remove the zone ordinances, the pitched roof requirement for buildings less than 10,000 square feet. And I will turn this back over to staff for their presentation.
Thank you. So this right here is going to be simply removing some text from the zoning ordinance. Just to give a little background for anyone that's not familiar with what the Planning Commission has had to do historically, the Planning Commission has had to waive this one particular ordinance multiple times due to the developers requesting it, the planning staff agreeing with it, and the Planning Commission agreeing with everybody involved that this is not really something that seems to be necessary. Specifically, in the Horn Lake Code of Ordinances, under Appendix A, Zoning, Article 8, Architectural Standards, E, General Requirements, 3, Roof Requirements, A, Pitched Roofs, numeral 1, it says all one-story buildings less than 10,000 gross square feet must have a pitched roof between 5 to 12 and 12 to 12 as much as possible. If a pitched roof is not possible, a combination of flat roof and pitched roof is required. And so, to the best of the planning staff's knowledge, every building for every drawing for proposed commercial development under 10,000 square feet, certainly since I've been working here, every single one that we have received has not had a pitched roof in the drawing. And so we tried to do some research and see why this was required. We couldn't really turn up anything substantial. It seems to be purely for aesthetics. It seems to be maybe chasing some kind of visual that the buildings may have had a long time ago here. That's all that we could come up with. And it is the planning department's belief that you don't have to have a pitched roof for a small commercial building for making it look visually pleasing. You can still build very nice, high-quality buildings with a non-pitched roof. Next slide, please. And so just for some other aspects of this, additionally, it's not practical. Many small commercial buildings use their roof space to store their heating and air equipment, and having that roof without a steep pitch will provide a safer place for people to work on that equipment and for that equipment to stay up there. And additionally, removing this pitched roof requirement will not ban them from being constructed. It just simply gives developers the choice to build those roofs in the way that's the most logical for those developments. And so, additionally, while no roof is completely flat, they always put in a slight grade to them for water drainage. And so we just figured we should leave this up to the engineers to design these buildings and allow for water to drain off those roofs. And we believe that the engineers for each development will design the most practical slope possible. So a specified ratio will not have to be enumerated in the Code of Ordinances to replace what's in there. Next slide, please. And so furthermore, removing this numeral 1 will not conflict with any other part of the Horn Lake Code of Ordinances. And this regulation has consistently appeared before the Planning Commission during site plan reviews and has been consistently waived by the Planning Commission. And the fact that this is specifically required yet waived so often shows that perhaps this regulation must be antiquated or impractical for businesses, and it's simply not a necessity for the general welfare of the community. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Andrew. Does anybody have any questions for Andrew?
Yes, I have a question. I never like to leave things up to the developers. So what would be the requirement for drainage? Say if it's a 2 feet drainage or 2 feet, I want to put the 2 feet in there. the least amount that they would need for proper drainage. Because when you leave it up to them, I believe they will do what they want to do. So I think the ordinance is a guideline, and you need a guideline to be specific. So, I mean, I'm not into construction, so I don't know what would give a roof a pitch, really, that the drainage would be in line with our ordinance. But you just say the developer will build, what he sees fit. Somebody maybe can explain it better, but I don't necessarily
Well,
agree.
And though I can understand where you're coming from, but the thing that I've seen on this commission do, we have never required them on any of the flat roofs on the McDonald's or anything to have a specific slope. It's just been whatever's been on that site plan we've approved. So I don't know that you could, I don't even know what the slope would be on those particular ones, because I don't think we've ever asked them or required anything. So, I mean, all this is doing is removing it. I don't know that we should put a new, I kind of agree with the presentation as presented by the planning department that we don't necessarily need to have a numeration, because the last thing that I feel any developer is going to want is water to get inside the building and ruin it. That's just what
Just follow up on what Janice said, the checks and balances should come from an insurance company, because I've been on the other side of that, where an insurance company would come in and I want the water damage, and they would also require a certain pitch to get the water off the roof. So I think the insurance companies would help us along with the design
I'm
and
just-
the engineering.
yeah, I'm just
I mean,
not-
that's not a guarantee, but that usually what regulates it.
I mean-
Any other questions or comments?
I don't particularly care if that we're leaving it in the hands of the engineers when we're the planning commission and we should be the one advising yay or nay. I don't like it. I feel like we are here for a reason, and if we feel like it's in a particular area where a pitched roof looks better, we should be able to do that instead of leaving it up to them. And if we take that away, then that's waiving our right to be able to do that.
All right, any other comments or questions for Andrew?
Any suggestion with anybody? I understand everything, but I'm just saying, I know how these people operate. And I've seen the kind of stuff they do. You give them an inch, they're gonna take a mile. And once we put it in there, it's gonna be there for a while. So,
I think maybe we should table it till next month when we have our other two commissioners here with us.
I don't think them being here is gonna make a difference, because we still gonna need a decision on what will work. I'm just being honest.
Right, but it'd be
on
nice
what
to
will
have
work
everybody's input
with
since we only
regard.
got it.
We
a couple
need
days ago.
input, somebody to say what, give me
Yeah.
something on the roof. That's all I'm.
All right, so I'm going to open this up to the public. Does anybody would like to speak? Anybody at all? Oh, the only person out there, Mr. Francis, come on and.
3 minutes.
You know what, today
don't need
I'm
3
feeling generous.
minutes.
I'll give you 4 today since you're the only one here.
I'm going to celebrate tonight.
No, 5 is a little bit too much. I'll give you 4.
I don't need 3 minutes. I don't need 4 minutes. My name is Francis J. Miller, 15-year voting resident, Ward 5 now. Okay, I agree 100% when you are changing something of this magnitude, even though it has been going on for 20 years, 30 or 50, I don't care. When you have 2 voting people representing the whole city not having to say, that changes the outcome, either for or against. I would go for tabling in a heartbeat till you have 7 people to decide yay or nay. End of speech.
Chairman,
all we need
we're
is a
addressing
quorum.
this because we brought it up.
Right, yes, we did.
This is something we voted on as a commission, and we wanted to go through the planning
Right.
department.
To look and research it, yeah.
To get to this stage.
Right. So is anybody else, hold on, does anybody else in the public want to speak? All right, the public comment is closed. All right, continue on, Commissioner. Go ahead.
Yeah, since we brought this up and the director's taking his time to go through and do the research on it, at the last meeting, we all discussed, or the meeting when we discussed this, We were talking about the pictures of the roof and what we thought we needed to see and all this. And this is a result of this coming to us based on our requirements that the director has put together.
It was the meeting where we approved Chick-fil-A's, pitch.
I believe it would, if I recall right, that
Chick-fil-A,
whatever his name.
where everybody agreed that this needed to be addressed and approved.
I understand, but I was not at that meeting because last month was my first time on the commission, and we only got this Thursday night. So I'd at least like to have a little bit more time to research it for myself to make a sound decision, because right now I don't know if I could do that. And with having 2 other commissioners out, I'd like to make a motion to table this to the next meeting in March.
Let me say something before it's tabled. I'm not in disagreement with what Andrew is saying. I just don't want the decision to be left up to the developer. That is my concern.
So we have a motion, do we have a second?
Yeah, but we can approve it with what the developer brings before us.
Okay, so we, hold on, we do have a motion on the floor, do we have a second? What's the motion? She's wanting to she made a motion to table. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? All right, the motion to table has failed. Do we have any more discussion?
Ask this. Is the tabling as a result for the other 2 commissioners, or are we tabling it because we don't have enough information? Because I think you're tabling it because you want the
because I
2.
didn't have enough information, but I think it would be fair to have everybody here, just so they can speak for their wards.
Do we have a quorum, Commissioner? We
There
have
is
a
a quorum.
quorum.
There is a quorum
Once
here
we have a
today.
quorum, you don't have to have the entire people. All you need is a quorum. So I just want to clarify that.
So do we have a motion?
Hold on. So if we were to table it, maybe it's because we want more research from the
That's what
planning
I'm
department.
saying.
Andrew, you think you can
Give us a little
present
bit
a
more.
little bit, give us a little bit more information on the options we have, the pros and cons of us changing this?
Yes, sir. We can absolutely do whatever research we can. I will just put this out there that this may get complicated because this would require reaching out to engineers and asking multiple engineers the science behind how you design buildings to have this many inches by this many inches slope of drainage. I don't know how much I should or shouldn't be saying here, but the reason we left no specification on here is because the planning department receives engineering plans. We talk to the engineers. We know engineers take great pride in the things that they draw. And so I know maybe landowners might not be the best to determine these things, or the store owners, but the actual engineers that are doing the architectural drawings. We do see that they specify their roof pitch, and every architect engineer has their own different slopes, different dimensions that works best for that building. So that's the only reason we didn't specify, because we cannot say you must do this pitch and then the next day we get a drawing and they have a pitch that's slightly different, and then we have to go tell them, well, based on our feeling, we don't think this pitch is accurate, and so
Okay.
that would put us in a position
Okay.
to fight engineers.
My take is we're not trying to specify a pitch. We just want to make sure that whatever is built give you a runoff. So whatever that is, we have to put it in writing. So you have to make it slope to the left so it runs off. We want that in writing so there's no mistake. It has to at least be done that way to ensure a runoff. You don't have to be 12. We had a 12 whatever pitch. We had something in there for a reason, whether it was aesthetic or not. We did have a guideline. So all I want to do is ensure that whatever they build, and I'm not going to leave it up to their decision, because I know exactly what's going to happen. People's going to come in, they're going to do what they want, because this is Horn Lake.
Right.
So I don't want to specify a pitch. I just want to make sure the language says that you have to ensure that the water is able to run off.
Andrew, yeah, and I think none of this their thoughts don't conflict each other. Could we get a written recommendation from the city engineer?
Sure, we can absolutely do that.
And if you could you look at the cases that we voted on? And I mean, I don't want to add too much.
Absolutely. No, it's perfectly fine. We can go through and put all the examples that I remember being waived, and I'll put in pictures. I'll try to go through and find the slopes that they used, and I'll reach out to Neil Schaefer, ask them their recommendations, other engineers that we've worked with in the past, anyone that looks at drawings or does architectural drawings. We'll look at all that.
Can you look at just the last year? Don't just pick them out so we can see the ratio between the ones that we voted to change, or, or when it comes just to the specific item when it comes to pitch roofs.
Yes, sir, we can absolutely do that for you.
All right.
All right, so do we have a motion?
I make a motion to table it until the city can provide a document from the city engineer, and our planning department can do research.
All right, do we have a
Second.
second? Okay, we have a second. Any other
Second.
discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Where?
Yes.
Fidel?
Here? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, it's been tabled till next month. All right, on to other business. We have a comprehensive plan update. So what do we have on that, Mr. Andrew?
So we had this on the agenda just to basically let everybody know that the company we hired, Orion Planning and Development, is still drafting it, and they told us March 8th is when they're going to give us the draft of the comprehensive plan. They're slowly sending in bits and pieces of it, but we are basically demanding that they give us some fully packaged document to let us go through it beginning, middle to end, and start our review process. So March 8th is when we'll get it.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have anything else? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn, Chairman.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?